been quite critical of walkers, and especially Imperial walkers in the past. And you know what? Perhaps unfairly. And I think maybe I've been a little short-sighted when comparing walkers to other more traditional tanks. So today I thought it'd be fun instead to look at the issue from a different perspective, instead considering the actual benefits offered by walkers. In this video, we'll discuss when you'd want to use a tank, or perhaps a repulsor lift vehicle, what a walker offers instead, and just generally the benefits of walker design. And the first benefit is tied to the single differentiating factor between a walker and some other form of tank, the method of transportation. Tanks used either wheels, some sort of tread mechanism, or repulsor lifts. I want to examine repulsor lifts first, and for those who don't know, repulsor lifts basically allow a vehicle to float. They're used in everything from flying speeders to tanks which hover only slightly off the ground. So the Essential Guide to Warfare makes it clear that these type of vehicles could be damaged by anti-gravity mines or missiles. What's more, there also existed some weapons which could disable all repulsor lift vehicles in a given area, though I think this would have been fairly rare. However, what's more, extremely large tanks packing the tonnage of, say, an AT-AT would have needed extensive repulsor lifts to actually move. At that point, creating such a vehicle is very expensive, maintenance intensive, and more importantly, a vehicle like this, and especially the underside, would be extremely vulnerable, especially when traveling. The same can actually be said of wheeled vehicles. The actual treads themselves represent a significant weak point, and they can be destroyed by someone on the ground. Now, of course, walker legs aren't invulnerable, however, they're more durable than the other two options. Most of the sensitive bits are located in the knee or above, but what's more, the legs actually offer a sort of separation between the vehicle and the method of propulsion. You literally have a physical distance between the ground and the guts of your machine. If Luke Skywalker was fighting, say, a tank on Hoth, he wouldn't have needed his grappling hook. You also have, say, an AAT, which has exposed fuel cells basically at ground level. So with a walker, you have some pretty strong legs supporting an armored body, keeping all of the sensitive stuff pretty safe. Now, of course, this does come with a trade-off. With more armor and just the use of legs generally, a comparably sized walker will most likely be slower than a tank and more limited in movement. However, that can be accounted for so long as the walker is used in the proper way. For example, you don't want to have an AT-AT fighting somewhere where it would be forced to turn around a lot. That's not how it's best used. Instead, you want to drop it in a battle where it can continually push forward, focusing its main weapons on a single target or line of targets. The walker deployment at Hoth, for example, especially with the smaller escort walkers, was pretty great. And the rebels, even with total air superiority, could not stop the Empire's onslaught. Of course, there are exceptions to this. Something like the AT-RT is certainly capable of moving extremely quickly, but that's not exactly a tank analog. But let's get back to walker advantages. Another example where the legs offer a benefit not available to treaded or repulsor lift vehicles is, as the Essential Guide to Warfare explains, as the walker bypasses traps, defensive emplacements, or trenches. An AT-AT, for example, can literally stomp over an enemy, especially with sufficient ground support. The legs soak up damage, and the walker can literally avoid any mines, trenches, or just other dangers. This is the benefit of being able to step around or step over something. We saw this at Hoth and in the new canon at Crate. Of course, when you're talking about larger walkers like the AT-AT, seeing this almost invulnerable onslaught certainly isn't good for troop morale, and the Empire loved the fear that their walkers drove into those they were attacking. There's also the benefit of height. The legs basically offer an extension to the height of the vehicle, giving it a great field of view. This helps if the walker is used alone or in conjunction with shorter vehicles. So basically, we have a tall machine which can transport large materials without having a chassis near the ground, like say a Juggernaut, and which is more protected on at least an anti-personnel level, all without having to sacrifice armaments, transport capacity, or armor. Weak points, of course, aren't removed, but they are minimized, instead presenting in, say, the neck of the AT-AT. Continuing, the most obvious benefit, at least for anyone who knows what AT-AT stands for, is that walkers could tackle tough terrain, whether it's rocks or something else that would limit a wheeled vehicle, or atmospheres too turbulent for repulsor lifts. Finally, and this isn't necessarily a benefit limited to walkers, we see how the Republic did a great job of taking this basic premise of a walking tank and adapting it into various specialized vehicles, from artillery to scouts. And to be fair, most of my criticism in the past has been tied to the Empire's use of walkers, not the platform generally. However, this has all just been my opinion. What do you think? Let me know that and more down in the comments. Today's question is a quick one. It comes from Pi, asking what is the difference between Dark Empire, Dark Empire 2, and the Dark Empire trilogy. So the Dark Empire trilogy, as I call it, is a series of 3 comics: Dark Empire 1, Dark Empire 2, and Emperor's End. Each one of these comics has sub-issues. So for example, we have Dark Empire 2, issue 3. The term Dark Empire also refers to the new empire led by the clone Palpatine during Operation Shadow Hand, so try not to get confused. Anyway guys, that is all for today. Make sure to leave your comments down below, subscribe and like this video if you haven't already, and if you have a question you'd like me to address in the future, leave it down below with the hashtag AskEck. Anyway, until next time guys, this has been EckhartsLadder. May the Force be with you.